This may look like harmless runoff from Tropical Storm Hilary, but here in the Tijuana River Valley, there is nothing harmless about it. Every gallon of runoff is full of raw sewage, toxic chemicals, and disease coming from Mexico.
This is the emergency that we're talking about every single day that we experience it at Imperial Beach. We experience it all up and down our coast. This storm just made things worse.
It's so nasty down here right now that the mayor of Imperial Beach has busted out a face mask for this interview. Adding insult to injury, all it took was one rainstorm, and the governor of California immediately declaring a state of emergency. Yet just as quickly dismissing a state of emergency for the longest running environmental disaster in American history.
We're not just dealing with storm water, we're not just dealing with storm preparation. We have to live with a tsunami of toxic sewage and pollutants that are impacting us for days and days after the storm stops.
In this case, the rainwater overwhelmed the sewage treatment plant on the U.S. side of the border. That, combined with the natural flow of the Tijuana River in the past 36 hours, have done a lot of damage to our environment.
So it got to a point where we had to make the decision and just bypass our secondary treatment and send the flow directly into the South Bay Ocean outfall. So we did that over about a 10-hour period last night, and we estimate that was about 16 million gallons. At the same time, we had transboundary flows down the river from the rain, and that was a huge amount of flow. As of this morning, it was measured about 1.8 billion gallons has flowed from the Tijuana River to the ocean.
Nowhere else on Earth would a legitimate government allow this kind of environmental disaster to happen once, let alone for 40 years in a row.
It's environmental apartheid. If this was La Jolla, this would have been solved a long time ago. This is economic apartheid because the South Bay, with all the Walmarts and whatnot, generate a big tax base. Where's it being spent here? Environmental and economic apartheid. This is in violation of the 14th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, which is equal justice for all.
And if you've ever been down here, you might understand the South Bay has become the official dumping ground for our neighbors to the south. Along with the billions of gallons of sewage and toxic waste, it's where Mexico's plastic comes to die.
It's incredibly disappointing. You know, I think it would go such a long way to be acknowledged as a community of concern, as primarily a minority majority community, a community of veterans, a community of active military that continue to be unseen by our state and federal leadership.
So at this very moment, there are politicians up and down the state of California not only declaring a state of emergency, but extending the state of emergency for a storm that has now come and gone. Something that is not going away is the tsunami of toxic waste that has been flowing from Mexico for the last 40 years, rain or no rain. We're talking now 4 generations of people who have been poisoned by this toxic pollution, yet still not considered an emergency. We're in Imperial Beach. Dan Plant, KUSI News.